Hello and welcome. I'm Father Greg Carlson, and I'm happy to welcome you to a visit to my miniature wonderland, a great toy train railroad that I've been working on for the last 9 years. It's an N-scale layout built on a great table that Brother Mike Wilmot created for me. Originally 10 feet by 5, now it's become a V, really 3/4 of a big square that would be 10 feet on each side. There are 12 trains running independently on this model railway, more really of a toy train, not as exact as most model railroaders would want it to be, but it sure is a lot of fun. I'd love to show you off each of these trains, its particular route, and then some of the great features that make this train so much fun. I hope you enjoy your visit. What you see as we approach the train is a set of concentric ovals. 4 of them right in front of us now are interconnected. The innermost is a Santa Fe freight train that you can see with the famous war bonnet engine circling in front of us. It goes up a ramp, turns a rather narrow 180-degree curve, and comes back down again. Over here you can see there is a track connecting that to the next level out. We're going to wait here for the next level out train to come by. There it is, a Swiss crocodile engine, famous for its crocodile-like snout on either end. This is a narrowly articulated 3-part train that could make it through the Gotthard Pass from Lucerne down into Switzerland through the rugged territory of the Alps. It's a workhorse train, and I've been delighted to find that engine in several European museums. If we follow it around to this point on the layout, it connects right about there with the next level out, which right now is a Metra train with 3 cars being pushed by an engine from behind. That's become something of the fashion in short-term passenger trains in the United States today. I marvel at the technology of the great Kato engineering of this N-scale train, that the strong engine doesn't push these light cars right off the track. I'll linger up here for a moment. You see a train coming by. I'll zoom in, and you can see the connection of that 3rd level out with the 4th level. It's a double crossover where the Metra train is on the inside, and on the outside is a lovely passenger consist behind a long Union Pacific electro diesel. That long line spreads around behind the mountain, emerges on this side, comes underneath some elevated tracks, and emerges here into sidings with a couple of other trains flanking it that can use the same main line around the whole layout. If we look again at that same spot, you may have noticed an elevated rail above that longer line going around outside of the mountain. This is an elevated long freight train moving slowly all the way around the outside of this layout. It has one siding which it will enter now. A train can park there on that siding while another train passes it on the main line. While we're looking at this angle, you can see that there's also another elevated train. This one actually, when there was only one table, was an elevated loop But now that there's a mountain, this train goes into the mountain once, emerges again, climbs a steep incline, circles over itself, has reached its altitude, and now emerges from the mountain again and does a hairpin turn to turn back onto an elevated loop on this table. That's the sixth of the oval lines coursing regularly around the train. There are also 6 point-to-point trains, mostly streetcars. Here is a bud car, a single car to handle passengers, a motorized car, especially from the time when trains had decreased in their service and trains found it easiest to run a single car from one point to the other. This one travels around the edge of the layout and stops up at the far corner. There's a program delay, and then, like all the other 5 of these point-to-point trains, it takes off and comes back along its same path, returning to where it was and stopping again. Here it comes, and will stop. That gives me a chance to mention to you that there is a transformer for each of these trains, various sizes and vintages of transformers. The small white boxes you see at the top come from Bazooka Electronics. They are the clever computer boxes that control these point-to-point trains, stopping them, giving them a timed stay at either end, and then reversing the current to send them back to the other end. In a moment, we'll take a look at the use of these blue switch tracks or turnouts. But before looking at the turnouts, let's take a look at the streetcars on this layout. You just saw one of them pull in. There are actually 4 streetcar stops arranged together here. They have their timed release. I'll stay with the innermost one for a moment. It's a small German Klapperkasten, the kind that was built during the war. Some of them were still running when I was a student in Germany in 1968 to 72. It's a very simple streetcar, and this is a simple streetcar line built like a hairpin. It moves straight up and straight back, but on the way it gets underneath several of those overhead oval trains that we saw a moment ago. There it goes again, around the curve, under the larger distance trains, and it comes back to its stopping point. This red streetcar is one of the original lines on the train. When it takes off, you'll see that it runs through the village, crossing over its own tracks twice, and circling one of the major attractions on this model railway. It comes around, circles here underneath trains, and around an attraction we'll see crossing over itself, coming back, circling far up, coming all the way back down, and ending not far from where it started. The 4th streetcar in line has maybe the simplest route. It takes off, as you see, in the form of a horseshoe. Goes up to the top, skirts the northern part of the town, comes around and stops over near the sidings for the longer range trains. It waits there as other trains go by. Then it will automatically reverse and come back around. Loop over the top of the town. and come back down to its starting and resting point. The second streetcar in the lineup has maybe the most interesting route. It's the one I have created most recently because I saw some open space and wanted to lay more track. Soon it'll take off, and then it will go up the layout, come back down again over the village, go back up, and then park in the middle. Now it comes around, it climbs up over on some elevated track, circles around beneath the city, comes back down again, and at the top circles back and parks in the middle of the city in front of one of the buildings to pick up passengers. Soon enough, it will take off again, circle back near the firehouse, there it goes. We'll come back up on the elevated track, around, back down again underneath the higher speed trains, and we'll park back at its resting place in the number 2 spot. To locate the final point-to-point train, I'm starting by looking at Mermaid Pond. It has a little fountain of a mermaid in the middle of all those rocks that you see. If we go slightly left, there we'll see that a train has just pulled in next to it. This is a mountain train. It will travel along the river, curl up over itself, and stop on the edge of the mountain, perhaps letting people off for skiing or for walks on the mountain. Here it comes. It'll zigzag a little bit as it goes into the mountain. We'll curl around in front of the waterfall and stop up there on a mountain edge. It stops to take on passengers. And controlled by those bazooka motherboards, soon enough it will take off on its own. Curve around again in front of the waterfall, emerge from the mountain, and take people back to Mermaid Pond. You've noticed several places on the layout where there are parallel tracks, sidings that can be used by the train. I'm asking you to look at one set of those sidings, actually 4 parallel tracks. There's one of them that the Union Pacific passenger train is entering now. The next time it comes around, what I will do is simply flick one of the switches, and that sends the current automatically to another one of the trains, to the opposite side of the turnout. Here comes the Union Pacific. I'll let it pull into its siding, flip the switch, and there goes the Coast Starlight, the West Coast train that came from Seattle all the way down to Southern California. As it moves around, I'll wait and see if I can catch the right switch to release the bullet train that you see in yellow sitting on the siding next to the one used by the Coast Starlight. Switch flip, the train takes off. I find the Kato track wonderfully engineered. One of the features I enjoy most on the train is a set of neon signs. That is to say, the electronics that we can get today from someone like Miller Engineering simulates neon beautifully. These signs, as you see a train coming around behind one for Pensacola Beach, have a variety of rhythms. There's ways to set them where one section and one color fire off after another. They are just delightful. The next of those signs has a bottle of Heinz ketchup being poured down from the top of the sign into the bottom section and filling it up time after time. One of the most beautiful of these signs advertises Budweiser and has the sort of bow tie form that Budweiser made famous. Notice the lovely little stripes that work out from the name to the edges of that Budweiser bow tie. Beautiful. A further sign, appropriately perched on top of a railway bridge, advertises the Milwaukee Road. And just down the line, here's a lovely Rexall sign. Another lovely sign, perched atop another railway bridge, advertises Mobil Gas with its flying red horse. Not far from the church is a sign right next to the railway tracks advertising Jesus Saves. And here are two signs we'll want to look into in a moment. What's this about the Pope? Appearing live on this layout. Another of those signs only deepens the mystery. What's this about a popemobile for sale? Before we investigate those signs, I want you to get a good glimpse of the beautiful mountain that my brother John and his lovely wife Susie created in a week on the second section of 5x5 addition to the original 10-foot by 5 layout. Again, wonderfully crafted by brother Mike Wilmot. The mountain features a lovely lagoon at the top, or a pond. It comes to a waterfall, and you can see that as the water descends, it goes into a river that travels under a couple of bridges, makes its way along the layout. Here, as you notice, Susie created not only some wonderful landscaping, but a number of bathers on the sands of the beach. The river moves along rocky shores down to Mermaid Pond, surrounded here by lovely palm trees. Perhaps the most recent addition to the train is the wind turbine you see working at the upper left. From here we can also see that 3 trains make their way into and generally, hopefully, out of the mountain. At a model railroad fair a couple of years ago, I was captivated by one group that brought along a video camera and a monitor. They simply set the camera on the layout, and people could see what a spectator at track level would see as trains go roaring by. I got home, found a monitor, and set up a camera I had, which you can see there just in front of the TV monitor. It's a wonderful way of seeing the trains in action. And since I'm at the right angle, you can even see me videoing it right now. In fact, if we move the camera over a little bit to the right and down, you can see 2 wooden supports at the other edge of the table. Those usually surround the very video camera I'm using here, and that gives people a picture on that second monitor. There's actually a third monitor above. In a few moments, I'll let you know what that's slated to do in the future. Now we come to the special treasure of this particular toy train. Several years ago, my brother gave me a popemobile. There you can see the Pope inside blessing people. It's perfectly done in N scale. But then we got a Jesuit Pope who doesn't want to use the popemobile. And so John got the great idea that we would have an auction of the popemobile at what he wanted to build, namely an outdoor theater. So here you can see there's a priest at the podium auctioning off the popemobile, complete with the Pope inside. And that's why we've got those lovely signs advertising that the Pope is here live and using an arrow to show the Pope there on the stage. You've already noticed the group of eager bidders who have gathered around and are signaling their bids. The outdoor theater has a couple of other features I'm happy to point out to you, mostly occasioned by the sorts of things that John or Susie or I had found over the years. One thing we had found was a set of monks. So John incorporated them into the scene. They're having a lovely picnic on the mound right behind the theater's screen. Here's an unusual group, a set of convicts who are either breaking into the outdoor theater or breaking out. I direct your attention now to the entrance to this outdoor theater, where you can see played out an experience many of us may have had in our youth. Only 2 people drove in the driver's seat of this car, but there were 6 of them trying to sneak in without paying, hidden in the trunk. They've been busted, and all 8 of them have to pay. The houses are all lighted. This particular house happens to have a fire going, and the roof has already burned off, and flames are coursing through the 2nd and 3rd floors. Turning off the house lights lets us admire the lighting in the houses, the various street lights and lamps around, all of those brilliant Miller Engineering neon signs, and the movement of the trains and streetcars around the tracks. There is a great sound system to complement the train. That sound system includes a bell and even a little bit of a conductor. Plans for the future include installing a mobile camera inside one of the trains and a monitor above those 2 already working for me will show the pictures that the engineer himself would see. And then what you see up in the upper left, the other side of the tracks, is going to be developed with things like a brewery and a gentleman's club. And there's even a good chance that that mountain will turn into the city of Nuremberg with lots of lovely ancient German houses. I hope you've enjoyed your visit to Greg Carlson's Miniature Wonderland, my underground railway. It's a pleasure to show it off to you, and I look forward to having you back for the next edition. Bye now.